Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about an anchorage in the Gulf of Naples, or technically just outside of it. The anchorage is in the Golfo di Genito. I think we're saying that right. Go ahead and roast me in the comments. Very nice little spot, probably less than a nautical mile out from a small marina on the island of Procida. Again, go ahead and roast me for my pronunciation. It's probably 13 or 14 nautical miles away from the port of Naples itself. Depth was about between 5 and 3 meters for the most part on a sandy bottom. Fairly large anchorage. I want to say there's probably 30 boats there when we first approached it, and there was still plenty of room. And as an added bonus, a lot of the people anchored there are locals, which means in the evening they tend to clear out because they have very small boats. They're not going to sleep at anchor. So for us, we just waited them out, and then we were able to reposition really nice and close into a sheltered anchorage after they were all gone. Spent a great night there, nice and calm. It does have some weaknesses in the shelter. If the wind turns, coming at you from the south or southeast, the anchorage might start to get a bit rocky. But otherwise, most of the other wind directions are completely protected. It's a really nice little spot. There were plenty of other areas around this set of islands, but you do need a permit for a lot of it. You got to watch out. There's a protected marine life zone, and you have to apply early enough and get a permit from the authorities to be anchored there. Other than the locals, it's a fairly calm anchorage, and there's not a lot of through traffic. It's sort of out of the way of passing traffic, so a good spot. We didn't really do any snorkeling. There might have been some good spots. There were like little caves opened up on the cliff wall. Fairly cool. Otherwise, very quiet, great little location, and probably just 5 nautical miles, maybe even less, probably 3 nautical miles away from Ischia. Larger island right next to it, which offers a really cool anchorage as well, and a castle / monastery that you can visit. We should add that the marina is reachable by dinghy. It's probably 500 meters between the anchorage into the marina with your dinghy. So a little bit of a dinghy ride, but once you get there, you have access to whatever's in town, restaurants and stuff like that. I would score this as a 3 out of 5. Just because it wasn't the smoothest anchorage as soon as the wind turned, and somewhat common with some of the anchorages in Italy in general. I think definitely in the Gulf of Naples, where you're sheltered from one side but not the other, and if the wind turns, you kind of have to go to the other side of wherever you are. The anchorage, I know it as Ischia Ponta, or the place where you're anchoring, at least, is close to that location. I'm not sure that the anchorage itself has a name on the map. Please go ahead and let us know in the comments if it does. Very beautiful anchorage, probably 14 or 15 nautical miles away from the port of Naples. Depth got as shallow as about 2.9 meters in some areas that we were looking at, and there is a good large anchorage zone to choose from. There are some moorings slightly north of where the anchorage is. We weren't using a mooring, but they are there. There's a good visual marker that you're heading in the right direction. The bottom had some seaweed, some sand, but it's usually very shallow. You can see down quite well and drop your anchor where you want it. The wind in this area, you're protected from south all the way to kind of northwest. And the nice part is the anchorage has, I guess, a twin. So if you anchor to the other side, or in our case, if we had moved from the northern side of the anchorage to the south side of the anchorage, which takes maybe 10 minutes, we would then change the protection profile and be protected from northeast all the way to south. So pretty cool anchorage for that, and allows you to adjust very quickly if the wind changes. Don't think we did a whole lot of snorkeling. We did swim around. At the bottom, there's some cool pieces of pottery and I guess ceramics or painted pottery that if you dive deep enough, you can pick up just amongst the rocks. You grab a handful. that was kind of cool to see some old stuff. Google dated some of it a couple hundred years old for us. It is illegal to leave with them, so we put it all back. But that was a fun little feature as far as snorkeling was concerned, but not a whole lot of fish, not really a coral reef or anything like that. There is this really nice, I think it started as a convent and sort of became a fortified castle protection situation and became militarized up on a small island that you can tour. It's a museum now. There was like 5 chapels on there, a whole bunch of stuff. They have a vineyard that they've been making wine out of for a long time. Really cool little place to spend probably 2 hours just walking around. Very nice feature of the area. And otherwise, there's the town of Ischia, which has some really quaint little touristy, I guess, streets, little shops, really good restaurants in the area. Fun little anchorage to be in. The Dinghy dock is really close to the anchorage, probably less than 100 meters, really. So very fun. Signal strength, internet access, everything was great here. I would give this probably a 4 out of 5 to score it on an Anchorage basis. Protection from the traffic of the ferries. There was considerable wakes at some parts of the day, and so the Anchorage during daytime gets a bit lively. If you have people that are prone to seasickness or something like that, there's sometimes in the day they're not going to want to go into the hulls, that's for sure. But otherwise, very nice. In the southern area of the Gulf of Naples, Capri, very famous island, Capri lemons, all that stuff. Very small island, offers really 2 anchorages, at least that we saw. We were anchored on the northern side near the Marina Grande. Directly opposed on the south side, there's a smaller anchorage. The wind was coming from the south when we were there, so that's why we chose that anchorage. It was very nice. However, extremely high traffic zone. There are touristy type little boats that ferry people from the marina to a cave system, just maybe 2 nautical miles away. And the anchorage happens to be pretty much in the middle of a highway. So there are boats passing by both left and right from roughly 10 a.m. up until nearly supper time. So the anchorage is heavily trafficked by small embarkations, a lot of wakes quite constantly. Even if there's no wind and the waves are low, you're going to get some traffic there. So if you're looking to just chill out at anchor, not a great spot. If you're looking to visit Capri, though, cool spot. You will need to take a taxi from your boat to the marina. The marina does not have a dinghy dock, and it is a very highly trafficked marina for ferries. They come in and out all the time. They're super big. The last thing they want is a tiny little dinghy in their way. So you have to call a guy, and he comes and picks you up. I think he can pick up to 7 passengers at a time. I want to say off the top of my head, it was 50 euros to go from your boat to shore, and then 50 euros to go back. And that, I believe, was for all 7, though, not just per person. So depending on how many people you have, could be inconvenient or fairly cheap. Otherwise, the anchorage was pretty shallow, but it goes deep really quick. So the area you have to anchor is kind of lateral to the shoreline and fairly close to the shoreline. You'll see the boats just lined up, but not a whole lot of staggering available. I think we anchored in about 4 meters, but less than 20 meters towards open ocean, it fell to 30 and 40 meters in depth very, very quickly. It is not super protected. Beyond the blocking the wind, in our case, from the south, you're pretty much on a sheer cliff. So east to west is wide open. Not a great anchorage to be in if the weather's going to turn or if you're really looking for some quiet time. Otherwise, no real complaints about this. Obviously, it's Capri. You're going to go on shore. You're going to visit. And at nighttime or in the evening, it got really, really calm. Once the through traffic stops, it's a nice anchorage to sleep in. There's no problem there. Signal strength was great. and you're probably 20 nautical miles from the port of Naples itself. I want to say 16 nautical miles south of Ischia or Ischia Ponta and Procida. All in all, I would give this a score probably 2.5 out of 5. Most of it being that it's a cool spot and a very nice touristy spot. But as far as the Anchorage score itself, it's not great. Too open, too much traffic for me. On the Amalfi coast, or I guess technically just before Amalfi, but on that same coastline, Positano. Very, very cool approach. We were following the coastline on the way up. There were these little fortifications. We got to witness a forest fire being extinguished by a helicopter, which is sad but amazing that they did it so quickly. And the pilot was amazing at dropping water bombs, literally. Very cool approach as you clear the peninsula and you start to see Positano. It is probably one of the nicest, most picturesque villages or towns that you will see from the ocean while looking at it. I don't know how pretty it is from the inside because we never got off. I'll get to that in a second. But we got there. There were no real anchorage positions to drop anchor. So we had to take a mooring ball. That's a big downside. I want to say it was 150 euros, maybe 120, something like that. So this is a high traffic, high tourist area. They know it, and they pretty much occupied the entire landscape with mooring balls. So we had to pick one up. It, much like some of the other anchorages in the area, it's a sheer rock face. You're protected in one direction, in this case from the north or from northern winds, but from south and east west, it's a pretty open. So it was rocky, and the night before there had been a mild storm in the Mediterranean, so the ocean was already kind of riled up. It made it not great. Anybody that's prone to seasickness would not have done well at Anchorage. In fact, they did not do well at Anchorage with us. Couldn't tell you about the depth in Seabed because we never approached anywhere to drop anchor, and there isn't any. So if you're looking to chill out at anchor, not a great spot, although it's very beautiful to, sit in the cockpit and take a look at the town for a while, but that wears off. And so in our case, we were there for 1 or 2 hours on a mooring that we unfortunately paid a lot of money for and left because everybody was starting to get seasick. And because we didn't really go on shore, I'm sure there's some amazing restaurants and sites to see, but can't really describe them here because of that. I would give the Anchorage probably a 2-star, just because it's very expensive, not super well protected. And if you're not going to spend any time on the boat, that's not a problem. But here, once again, you have to take a taxi to shore. Not sure what the price was. I think we had 1 or 2 transits included with the mooring ball, but they have no dinghy dock whatsoever, and they don't want to see you trying to attach your dinghy to something. Sorrento, we sailed by. The winds weren't super favorable for us, so we didn't quite anchor, at least not very long. It's probably 15 nautical miles south of the port of Naples. It was very beautiful to look at from the water. The town is built on a sheer rock cliff, and there's these rock staircases carved into the stone leading up to it because it's probably 300 feet up. Absolutely spectacular to look at. However, the anchorage itself didn't offer a whole lot of space. There, you had to get really close to the shoreline to get some shallows. There was already some boats there. It might get tricky to find a spot to drop your anchor and put enough line down for the anchor for an overnight or something like that. The wind protection is mostly from the south and the eastern side. Anything coming from the north or the west, you're quite open. In our case, we had like a west-northwest wind that kept the water quite agitated and made it not super great at anchor, probably a 14, 15 knot wind quite constantly. And there was just no way to go hide from it and get, a calmer area. So we didn't stay very long. Otherwise, great anchorage, a great place to look at. Couldn't tell you about what was on shore, again, because if you have any passengers that are prone to seasickness, they're not going to want to stay there. They're just not going to have a good time. Signal for cell and all that, super great because you're very close to mainland. Um, Very cool little area. Had been a little bit calmer for us, we probably would have stayed and explored Sorrento. Overall, I'd say it's probably a 3 on the score, just because it's kind of open. If there was a big storm or something, I'm not sure this is the Anchorage you want to pick, especially depending on the direction that it's coming from.